Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back to The Faithful Path, where every Saturday I break down the connection between our daily lives and the beautiful religion of Islam, how they both have an impact on each other, and discuss the issues we all have practicing our religion nowadays. So, without further ado, the podcast starts now.
سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Have you ever felt in your life that sometimes when you're reading a book, you sometimes skip a line, or when you're listening to something, you miss a sentence, and then you realize that you didn't even understand it, you didn't retain it, you didn't act upon it, you were just lost or you weren't focused. That's why today I want to talk about the importance of seeking knowledge, because there's two issues nowadays. Either we don't seek knowledge, either we do seek knowledge, but we don't fully understand it or act upon it. And today I want to give you guys the three most important things to do when reading or listening to something. So the first thing to do is the importance of reading carefully or listening carefully. This means giving your full attention to the text you're reading or to the video you're listening to, noticing the small details and avoiding distractions. Because every time we read carefully or we listen carefully, we retain more info, we understand better, we remember what we read or listened a few minutes ago. And this is important because you're giving your time to the book or to the video, but your mind is not even present. And the ways you can focus more on what you're reading or what you're listening to is by eliminating distractions, reading in a quiet place, and taking your time with what you're reading and what you're listening to. There's a hadith that says, seeking knowledge is a duty upon every Muslim. What does a duty mean? It means an obligation. It doesn't mean if you want to seek knowledge, go ahead. We as Muslims, we need to seek knowledge. It's our duty, just like it's our duty to pray, to worship God, etc. But seeking knowledge, I think, is not only a duty for Muslims, but for everyone. Every single day, you need to give yourself time to seek knowledge, either through books, through videos, through podcasts, through events, through seminars, through people. Every day, you need to learn at least something new, because this is our duty as humans. Why? To improve our knowledge, to improve our minds. This is why it's important when you're reading something or when you're listening to something, you need to do it carefully. You need to be focused without anything around you. Every time you're reading or listening to something, move your phone away, because the biggest distraction is our surroundings. And I know we always have our phone around us whenever we're trying to focus on something, but we need to eliminate distractions, find a quiet place to read or to listen, and we need to take our time. The second most important thing is the importance of understanding. Understanding means taking in the meaning, the context, the implications, visualizing the events that you're listening to or the things that you're reading. Because if you keep reading and listening and watching without even understanding what you read 5 minutes ago, it's completely useless. So every time you read, try to summarize what you read. Try to summarize some paragraphs. And if you didn't understanding, reread it again. If you're watching a video, after every 5 minutes, maybe pause the video to actually take in the information that you just listened to, that you watched. And if you don't understand something, you need to ask questions. And my tip for you when trying to understand something is making connections and visualizing. Because the best way to understand a certain topic is by making a connection with what you already know. And there's an ayah in the Quran that says, then do they not give serious thought to the Quran, or do they have locks on their hearts? Our problem with reading the Quran sometimes is that we read it, but we don't understand it. It's good to read 5 pages, 10 pages, 20 pages a day. For example, in Ramadan, our goal is to read the whole Quran. But after you read the Quran, what did you learn from it? What did you understand from the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because it says in the ayah, do they not give serious thought to the Quran, Or do they have locks on their hearts? When reading the Quran, we need to do it with sincerity and with focus. We need to read it because we want to read it. We want to learn the verses, the lessons, the messages of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why it's important to understand what we're reading. It's as if I say to you that I went to the movies yesterday and I saw a movie. Then you ask me, how was the movie? I say, good. Then you ask me, what was the movie about? Then I tell you, oh, I don't know, I just watched it. Well, you're going to tell me that you spent 2 hours watching something, you didn't even understand it. What did you learn from the movie? What did you learn from this video? What did you learn from the book? We need to understand it. We need to read it carefully and then understand what we just read, what we just listened to. The third and final importance is acting upon it. And this is the most important step in this video. This is the most important step of seeking knowledge. You need to act upon the knowledge that you just read. You need to apply the knowledge that you gained from the text, from the video, from the podcast in your life, in your work, to improve your skills, to make better decisions, and to have a positive change in your life. Sometimes we're focused on what we're reading, we understand it well, but the biggest problem is that we don't act upon it. Every single day, it's the same thing. We read a book, we watch a video, we understand what he says, what he means, we understand the lesson, but we don't act upon it. We need to create action steps. We need to implement these new techniques in our lives. And the best thing to do when you understand something is share it with others so they can benefit the same way you did. You need to act upon what you read, what you watched, what you listened to, because action always overcomes words. Action is always bigger than these words you're reading, than this voice you're hearing. Because the purpose of seeking knowledge is to change you, it's to influence you. But every time you seek knowledge, if you understand it well, but you don't act upon it, there's a huge problem. So the purpose of seeking knowledge is to have a positive change in your life. And that's how you seek knowledge. First step is you need to read and listen carefully. Second one is you need to understand it. You need to understand it well. Take your time with it. And finally, the last one, you need to act upon the knowledge you learned. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, follow, and share. And I'll see you next week on the Faithful Path. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.